Hi, Brooke.
Hi.
So I'm excited for our first episode.
I know. I'm like, so just to think of like that you mentioned doing this like when we were ending the program and now we're actually recording,
Yes.
doing
So
it.
for
I'm so
those of for those of you that don't know, both Brooke and I finished the Journey of Intrinsic Health coaching program with Dr. Zach Bush and and Jen and all these beautiful people. So we connected there and decided that it's time for us to come up with a podcast that we couldn't find elsewhere. So we decided to creating our own.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So
So for the first episode, I just dotted out some ideas that I wanted you to kind of like respond and see, if we can get our audience to even comment on it if something hits home for them, right?
yeah.
So we both love Eckhart Tolle's work. And in his book, it says that awakening is the actual possibility in every moment for your life to awaken and evolve your consciousness. So I wanted to chat a little bit about what it means to you and I, where in our both professional lives and personal lives as mothers, where did we feel that this idea resonated with us the most?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, I guess just to put it in like a broader context of what Eckhart Tolle and his work has meant to me. Like, I've read so many spirituality and personal development type books, and his two books, The Power of Now and A New Earth, um, both have just changed me really in super profound ways. And I think the main thing is that in understanding and studying both of those two books, I really have come to understand the power of being able to be the awareness behind your thoughts and to be able to somewhat, put that separation there of like that your thoughts are separate from who you are and your beingness. And, just in that overall, um, practicing that, because I really do think like that is a muscle that we can practice, right?
Mhm.
Just be able to recognize like, okay, this is the thought I'm having. It doesn't mean that I have to, attach a story to that. And just being able to practice that and in, using that over the past couple years in being a mother now, um, it's just allowed me, I guess, to actually be more present and to know when I'm not being present, to recognize that and be able to kind of find those times where, okay, what do I need to do here? Like I am not, I'm not in that grounded space that I need to be. So I think that motherhood is especially a place where it'll test your patience sometimes
Mhm.
um and really challenge, how you're approaching things. And for me, yeah, if I didn't have that understanding of, the full acceptance of now and, you know, being in a different state or knowing that we can kind of change our state at any moment, I would be showing up in a very different way as a mother. And especially just over the past couple of years with all of the challenges that we've all seen and just the change and, we've all been through it, but it's just it's that full acceptance of what is, right? Like this is what reality is presenting, and how can I show up in the best way to respond to that. So I don't know, what do you feel like resonates for you there?
Absolutely. And I think you touched on a little bit of neuroplasticity where you can change your thoughts, where you can control what your thoughts do to you. Because they say that, our mind can't detect reality from false reality. So if you're putting a thought in your head for the good or the bad, if you're putting a thought in your head, let's say you're thinking fear, 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 or something super negative, and then that becomes your reality at some point in your life. Either you are going to come across situations where you're going to find yourself being fearful or being negatively affected by something, or if you change it to the positive and you're thinking, we say we create our own reality, you're thinking positive, you're thinking inclusion and love, then you will come across more of those situations. So I think if we look at from an electric field being, which is what we are really, we are sending those negative or positive vibes to the world. Not to say that bad, quote unquote, things can't happen. They can, but how we deal with them and what we make them to be in our lives is key to those awakening moments, to those evolving moments where you, quote unquote, pass a certain test and moving on to hopefully something better in life. And absolutely, when it comes to kids, it's how we, it's not what we do so much as who we are at our core being, right? I can say to my child, oh, I love you. Or I can say to my child, I love you. So they're not going to hear the love in my heart if I say the latter, right? But they will hear the love in my heart if I say the former one. So I have to be not careful, but really aware and really confident with who I am, and take back things that came from a reactive state and not from a proactive state.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so true. Like I think it takes the pressure off a bit, in a sense, like when you just realize that it's who you're being in that moment that your child is resonating with.
Right.
Not necessarily like, oh gosh, what do I say here? It's really like tapping into that intuitive piece. And what you said on the energy level is so true. Like it's taken, like, just all that I've learned and experienced over the last few years. I have this so much more greater understanding of how our energy that we're projecting out into the world is everything. Like, it is changing our reality. And even looking, like, I've like sound like such a dork here, but I like now look into so much quantum mechanics, because really can be understood from a quantum level, just the same way that, like, with Eckhart Tolle and the muscle and the neuroplasticity, that is, that's proven by science, that, like, the more that you change your reaction to things, and the more that you can kind of step back and separate and create that separation, what that's doing in your mind is creating that neuroplasticity. So it becomes easier and easier and easier. And then one day it's just, you change, you're like, wow, I remember when I used to react like this to when a situation like this occurred. So yeah, but I just love that idea of, like, when you look at parenthood, it's like, you can read all the books and, how to do this and how to do that. But really what it comes down to is, who are you being in this moment? What is your child picking up on? Like, what energy are you projecting? And that is so important, of what, we're showing our children.
Absolutely. And it connects directly to the name of our podcast, which is Raising the New Earth. Like, how do you raise your children? It all begins with, how do you treat yourself? Like, what are you bringing to the table from the core being, from the soul level, right? The cellular level, who you are, not who you want to be or who you're trying to be, but who you are. And we are all souls in a biological suit, walking around this physical realm until, some believe in reincarnation, some do not, but until we no longer do that. And so who you're bringing to the table and the positive vibes that you're sending to your family and to the world makes a ripple effect in the world. I believe it tilts the scale of consciousness. So more and more people will be okay with who they are and not seek the approval of others, and not go to reactivity place with their family, their children, their spouses. I think the more good we bring to our own little bubble, the better the world is gonna be like for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why it's so important for our children to grow up and understand that, because that is what is going to change the world. It's not, what our children are learning, or not that there, there's not importance of that, but it's you know that higher consciousness, and with that comes, naturally comes the courage and the compassion and the empathy and everything that's needed, to create that change in the world.
Right. Yeah. So it's raising our consciousness to not just what is, but to also what is possible for us as mothers, as fathers, as human beings. And I know that the kids element really, for me, holds the key to me being a better human, right? I felt it immediately when our son was born, when our first child was born. And I felt that, okay, there goes my me era, right? That goes, 4 hours at the gym, or looking at myself for longer in the mirror, or getting my 12-hour beauty sleep, whatever that was back in the day, it was gone. And slowly only now I had to learn to regain my new sense of the evolved me and who I have become because of this amazing experience of motherhood.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, the way it's like that evolution, right? From me, from me taking care, to like, okay, I have this baby, like it's all about them. And it's like, wait, I've got to have a balance here. How can I make this about us?
Right.
And that us evolution. Yeah, I completely, like, it's amazing how, like, I just ran to Target today all by myself because my daughter was in preschool, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is
Right.
incredible. So it's like you do appreciate those moments that you do have, so much more. But yeah, I totally, is, your children do it, they do make you a better person. And it's like you feel, to me, I mean, my experience, just I feel like I feel things on a deeper level now. And when, like, we've all heard the expression, be the change you wish to see in the world. And it means so much more now. And again, it's going back to that beingness, right? It's be the change you wish to see in the world. You can post all the social media about this, injustice, or this is crazy, and but like, how are you being? How are you showing up in the world? And in that beingness, there's so much power. And just looking at, my little girl, it's like I want to show up in the best way that I can, so that I can have a say in the world that she grows up in. I get, like, it before, it was like, oh, the next generation is, not that I didn't care, but it was like, I'll be gone, like we're destroying this earth, or we're like, but I don't know, like, but it's like, no, I like this, this matters. And I'm gonna show up in a way that allows the world to evolve in how it needs to, for her, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the important thing for me is those, pointing fingers, sometimes at ourselves. I'm not doing enough. I am not enough. I said something I shouldn't have said, so let me beat myself up for that. I should do more. What does she need? Or what does he need? What am I not giving enough? That imprint of unnecessary energy that we are carrying around with us, it's such a burden, right? Because I think our kids will be the first ones to pick up on that. Like, how do you raise children to be their meant potential without criticizing them for what they're not? By not criticizing yourself for what you're not, or what you're not doing enough. right? By praising yourself, saying, thank you, soul, or thank you, self, or I am abundance, or all these, I am mantras that we both studied with Zach that are so powerful. If you walk around knowing that you are who you want to be, because you are already that. We just have forgotten. We have accumulated a lot of shit, during our lifetime. But by praising the kids and praising yourself for what you are and what your potential is, it's always about patience with yourself, patience with your kids, grace with yourself, grace with your kids, compassion with yourself, meaning compassion with your kids. So when you're centered to close to zero reactivity or judgment within myself and my soul, I know that my kids will grow up to be their absolute authentic reflection of that. So as I remember when my kids were born, there is no time for yourself. If you don't have a nanny, if you don't have, family living close, or even elderly parents that can't take care of your kids, because this is our task. We brought kids to the world, so we should take care of them. But if you are not blessed to have that family around you, then finding those moments are hard. So for me, up until recently, it was in the bathroom or shower. I used to put little post-its, and I remember I showed you that on the mirror, where I can quickly reconnect with myself, count my blessings, and just get ready for what my intention is for the day.
Yes, so true. And yes, your post-it note. Yeah. So just like, no, we both basically coached each other through this program, but that was one of Noah's recommendations to me, and was just the post-it note. And it's powerful to be able to just have that little reminder of an affirmation, whatever it is that you need. That, I am enough, even, or I am, and that reconnection with yourself in those small little moments. Like, they're not like like you said, we can't spend 4 hours at the gym. It might just be 5 minutes in the shower, but can you be conscious during those times and realize and recognize how you want to show up for that day and how you want to show up for your kids. And I love that. Like, it's so true that if we want to raise kids that aren't self-critical and, always judging themselves, we have to do that first. We have to come from a space where we're not criticizing and judging ourselves. And it's not always easy, but that is where, again, those moments of reconnection help to ensure you're showing up in the way that you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many books as health coaches and nutritionists. There's so many books and so much research around trauma being the trigger for dis-ease manifestation in our body. And Louise Hay dedicated a whole book, You Can Heal Your Life. She was one of the first pioneers that I found growing up to correlating every single dis-ease to something emotional, an emotional trauma that has not been released with love, right? And so everything that we're saying is not just for the benefit of our kids, it's for the benefit of us, our health, our overall being. Who wants to be angry all day? Not your liver, right? Your liver doesn't want you to be angry all day, nor does your spouse or your kids. But no one wants to be in a state of mind of being in a reactive state or negative state. So just taking those little moments is what's going to make life more doable, right? Those little moments. We can't go to the Himalayan and sing Shanti Shanti and meditate. We don't have that luxury. The idea is how you bring practical steps to us doing life every single day. And it's by this, putting a little reminders for yourself, that we have been doing successfully. So when we came up with this podcast and we started talking about the new earth, I always assumed that we're talking about a better earth, like an earth that doesn't get abused by us, glyphosate and pesticides, herbicides, and tilling the land, or being disregarded by humans, right? So an earth, a new earth that we can enjoy its fruit because we are working towards a better land. We're working with the soil, not against the soil, and without spraying on it. And so in this aspect, it's important for me, at least, to connect ourselves to the earth and have our kids see that our fruits and vegetables don't come from a plastic box from Trader Joe's. God bless Trader Joe's. But it doesn't come from that. It actually comes from the earth, so you can pick it. Or in our household, we have hydroponic gardens. So we use lettuce grow for our tower gardens, and the kids go there and they pick their lettuce or strawberry whenever it's in season. So I wanted them to realize that it doesn't come in a bag from the supermarket, but from Mother Nature herself in all her glory. So how do you do it in your household?
Well, and I think that's an important point. Like, it's like the reconnection, right? Like like where we see where we are today with all of the spraying, and we're just killing our soil, and we've lost that connection overall. So yeah, I think that that's such a critical piece for our children today, is like to have that connection back. And for me, I mean, first I'll say, for me growing up, like, I don't we had like maybe some apples, but most of our food, like, I had no connection there. I did, like, my grandma's sister had a farm, and I do remember going there and like feeling like, so it just always made me so happy to hang out there. And I hadn't really thought about that until recently, but I was like, I think as children, like, we're more connected in, and we have that natural appreciation. So, looking back, I'm like, I do think that, like, I felt that natural connection when I got to be at those places. So yeah, I mean, as far as with my daughter now, we've recently moved, but have every plan to have a garden in our backyard. I have like brought her to a couple like nature type schools. So it's important for every day. And I mean, I know it's going to be getting colder now, so I want to stick to this, that, she needs to be outside and getting sunlight and grounding in the earth and playing, and like, that is their best place to learn. And it's like the ultimate playground is just to be able to go out in nature. We have a creek that runs through our backyard.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. So she's still too young for her to just go out and play kind of on her own. I'm there with her, but I'm very, very happy that we've lived in a place now where it should be a little bit easier to reconnect. But, I think no matter where you live or what you can do, there's always opportunities and places where you can take for that connection. So, yeah. What do you feel like? And you said you have the garden.
So we have that.
You're in LA.
Yeah, we're in LA. We have one tower. Well, we had one tower, one lettuce grow tower, which we love. And we just added a second one. My husband is like, okay, we got to get more lettuce. It's like, yes, we'll get more lettuce, but you got to start picking them because, they go wild after a while, and they start getting bitter if you don't pick them early enough. So our kids, that's what they do. They go and they pick. And also we are members of CSA. So we have a bunch of local farms here, and we found one specific organic farm that I really liked their method and their agriculture, their regenerative ways of raising their produce. So we belong to that farm, and that every once in a while they have something that's called the open table, where you can visit the farm and you sit together with other people, you get to know them, and the kids just run around picking strawberries, carrots, fennel, whatever is in season, then running after the chickens, which is so important to me because that's how I was raised. So I was raised in Israel in a little something that's called like a kibbutz, which is a little countryside. And we raised a lot of we had cucumbers, we had tomatoes, we had a huge field where I could literally go and pick up whatever I wanted. but not too long after that, we moved to the city. And yet these memories at a 4-year-old, for a 4-year-old, has remained in me. And that's what I gravitate towards. I want to be outside, even now eating my meals. I don't want to be in the box of 4 walls, especially in California when the weather permits. I want to be outside. So I'm taking my, huge bowl of salad, whatever I made myself. I sit on the couch or I sit on the grass and I just eat it, amongst the plants that I do have.
I love it. Yeah. I know I didn't even make that connection, but I agree. Like, I love to eat outside. Like, it like just elevates the whole experience for me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And isn't that amazing that like I just, again, it's that like you remember those pieces of your childhood where you could like go and pick the cucumbers and the fresh vegetables and stuff. It just shows that like we want that connection. Like, we naturally gravitate towards connecting with the earth and, understanding that the cycles of nature. It's just that we forget as we're adults and but again, like it's if we can show those moments to our children, like hopefully they remember a little bit more than our generation. Like that remembrance will come back, and that connection and that reverence for the earth will naturally start, being there.
Right. And the whole research around, the hormones that are getting released when you are in nature. Nature therapy is not just a slogan. It's true. The oxytocin that gets to be released, everything that's around there just reminds us that we are from nature. We are meant to do that. So even if you do live in New York City, and I lived there for a few years, have your little herb plants, have, all these beautiful plants that you can have around the house. You can still grow whatever you can grow in a small apartment. You don't have to have huge piece of land. We don't have huge land, so we're growing. And those tower gardens, by the way, can be grown indoors as well.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Awesome. Or just a little balcony if you have.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. Well, and another piece of that is the microbiome. You're being exposed to when you're out in nature. Like, it's so important. We think that, we're in such this world where everything's so clean and sanitary, but like, you need those good germs, you need the dirt, you want to breathe that air in. It's so healthy. And I love that when we were going through our program, I remember Dr. Zach was talking about, like, when you spend a day in nature, when you've like gone on a hike and you've breathed in all that oxygen that the trees are giving out and you're in that environment, you just feel good. Like, you might not be able to put your finger on exactly what or why, but it feels good. And
yeah, I had a client recently who called me. She said she has an anxiety attack. So the first thing I asked her to do is like step outside, drop the phone, step outside, go bare feet to your soil right now. Stand there 5 minutes, stand there, and then call me. And I asked her to say what she's grateful for. I said, find one thing you're grateful for. So she called me after, 5 or 7 minutes that she was outside. She said, okay, now I can breathe. I said, if you're setting yourself up for success first thing in the morning, you're going to set up your entire day for success. You can't rush out of bed. So wake up a bit earlier. You're used to wake up at 7 o'clock. So wake up at 6:45. Give yourself that grace, compassion we just talked about, to be in that space. Take your coffee or take your, mud water or tea, whatever I do, lemon water in the morning. Step outside, right? Have your eyes being against that beautiful nature and the light. It's all going to regulate your hormones so you can start your day in the way that you are the best version of yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like, no wonder we're all so anxious and like when we, spend most of our lives indoors in this fluorescent light. And
yes.
Yeah.
Boxes. We spend our lives in boxes.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And yet a lot to be grateful for, because here we are with a podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's just those simple things that can reconnect you in and like completely change the trajectory of your day.
Absolutely.
By just breathing in and getting some sunlight. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah. So I think that though is like, yeah, just sums up completely. It's like when we think raising the new earth, it's, yes, it's on one level how Eckhart Tolle talks about like a shift in consciousness and that higher vibration and like that letting go of the egoic self, like that is going to create the change. And by doing so, we're going to reconnect and we're going to have that reverence for nature and know that we're all connected to, every from the trees and to each other. And it's all, a part of us.
Exactly. And a big part of this podcast, Raising the New Earth, is a call for us to rise higher, to higher levels of consciousness, tap into the greater potential of ourselves and who we are, our children, humanity as a whole. So as we keep exploring episode by episode who we are meant to be and who we truly are in the deepest of our cellular level, then we're hoping that this too will create a ripple effect in the world and tilt the scale for better overall experience in this physical realm.
Absolutely. So well put.
So we'll see them next time.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.